gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's Untethered Live, and I'm your host, Jake Johnson. And tonight's episode is brought to you by this hot cup of coffee. And tonight, it's just us, me and Amanda. Nobody else showed up. That's fine. How are you there? Good to see you tonight. Somebody will come in eventually. Maybe YouTube is putting a thumb on me again. Who knows? Well, you get the gold star. Anyway, tonight's Untethered Live is brought to you by me, Jake Johnson, the host. Minus the mustache, but it'll grow back, don't worry. Hey, Darlene, I hadn't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Come on in. How are you? How's life treating you? Are you doing well? Amanda says, hi, Darlene. Good to see you. My hair is frazzled tonight. Well, we had a good show on Wednesday night. Almost 1,000 people watched that show. Stands to reason we'd have a slow one, but it's early yet, so, we'll get there. I've seen you, says Darlene. LOL, I'm good, thank you. Hey, Mandy. Well, been lurking in the background, eh? See anything you like? See my nice little shiner I got today? Got a little swollen spot on my face. I hit myself in the face with a tire iron. Why, you may ask? I was bored. I needed a little excitement. And I was changing a tire and it slipped. But other than that, I realized I had forgotten what it felt like to get punched in the face by a man. So, whack. Anyway, I'm alive. I survived it. Amanda says, well done. Go around beating yourself up, right? Yes, I don't always say anything. I hear you. Yes. It's just a little swollen spot. It'll be all right in the morning. It reminded me I shouldn't hit myself in the face with tire irons. That was something. I got a lot done today, though, so that's good. I got some light bulbs changed. 3 of them. And I got a new tire put on my bike. I got the brakes worked on. It seems like I got a lot done anyway. There's really not a lot, but it was time intensive. But nonetheless, it's Friday, and I'm chilling, so... What did I get done? I got some light bulbs changed, 3 of them. I got a new tire put on my bike, and I got the brakes done. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's Friday, and I'm chilling. What did you get done today? It's still cold there? Yes, it is. It's very chilly. I think it's like 45, 46 degrees now, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. It's not as cold tonight as it has been, but it's supposed to get really cold tomorrow night, so we'll see. I think it's supposed to drop down into the 30s tomorrow night. Maybe Sunday might be cold. It's kind of up and down, This is the part of winter that can't make up its mind whether it's winter or spring. But it likes it both ways. Been running all over town with Sonny. Ooh, sounds like a fun day. Running. Hey, there's 5 people here. Hello, everybody. Come on in, take your shoes off and say something. I can't take the cold. Well, I don't take it lightly. I can take it, but I don't want to. I'd much rather be in a warmer climate. And it gets pretty warm here during the summertime. And that's the good thing about here is you just got a brief 3-month window of really, really cold weather. 4 months. But it's not like snow in half the year. If you went any further north, that's what you have to contend with. And I don't know how those people do it. Living in North Dakota or places like that. It's not for me. But I keep the heat on and I stay in my room, so I stay warm through the winter parts. And I know how to build a fire, so that's always good. Is anybody else's chat different on here, or is it just me, says Amanda? Well, it looks the same to me. What's happening? What are you seeing? Me neither, says Darlene. Right. I promise you one thing, though. When it gets cold, Jake's going to wrap up and stay under the covers. That's going to happen. Amanda says it's doing like a live chat on Facebook. It's not letting me pull up the chat or nothing. It's just showing one thing at a time. Have you went down and hit the little thing and put it on live chat? Sometimes you got to do that. It might be on all chat or whatever. None. Hide all messages. Top chat or live chat. Mine is doing that too, Amanda. Really? I might be getting YouTubed. That's not good. It's not even giving me a live chat option. I have it on all the comments. And I don't know what's going on. I do not know. Maybe that's why there's not anybody here. Maybe we got censored. Or maybe it's that shadow banning thing. I did have quite a political podcast last time, and almost 1,000 people watched it. So, well, Darlene says it was doing the same thing with her, so she'd have to have the same update. Amanda asks, Darlene, did you have a software update on your phone recently? Lisa-Reen, I made it. I see y'all's chatting. So your chat don't look different, Lisa-Reen? Because they're having a problem. I hope you can work it out. I don't know what would be causing it. I haven't done anything different. Lisa-Reen, good to see you. How you doing today? I don't know, Amanda. I don't think so. Maybe I have, says Darlene. Looks the same to me, says Lisa-Reen. Well, maybe it's just you. I don't know. Well, if that's the case, then I apologize, YouTube. I didn't mean to insinuate. Well, damn, I don't like this at all, says Amanda. Have you tried refreshing it? Go out and come back in and see if that fixes the problem. Always got to fix something, it seems like. Mine's not doing it now, but it was the last couple of times I've been in here, says Darlene. I don't know. I'm going to go check my settings on my phone, says Amanda. Yes, I tried refreshing it. Might reboot. Well, I hope it ain't a big problem. That sucks. Tonight I thought we would talk about light and sound and this universe that we live in and its good vibrations. After all, vibrations are what caused it in the first place. I think it's a good topic. Might be a little heady, but, you know, I get that way sometimes. Used to be around the time of Albert Einstein, and he wrote the theory of general relativity. And in his theory, he allows for light to be part of the function of everything, but he gives it a speed limit, the speed of light. And according to the theory of relativity, the speed of light is the speed limit. It cannot change. But we know better now. This is not a fault on Albert Einstein. He didn't know. He was just developing the idea when he wrote that paper. And he didn't have a way to actually experiment and figure it out, I would imagine. But many years of scientific study past that, and we've discovered now that not only does the medium that light goes through affect its speed, but it can actually be slowed down, and it actually can go in reverse. So light can actually go backwards in time. You look on YouTube and you can find a few videos about that if you doubt me on it. But trust me, light seems to be everywhere before it starts. And but the interesting thing about light is that when it passes through a medium such as water or the atmosphere or space or dust or anything like that, it changes its speed according to whatever medium it's in. It could be a cause and effect kind of thing. It could be the fact that it has to traverse through something. Who knows why? Because we don't even really know what light is. Well, we know what light does, but we don't know what it is. We can't put it in a jar and paint it red, you know. So basically, if you're looking at it, it acts like a wave. If you're not looking at it, it acts like a particle, and it seems to know whether you're looking at it or not, which is a really weird property for light to have. I suspect light itself has something to do with how God created all of this, and I'll delve into that in a minute. But just understand that there is a very, very big spectrum of light, all the way from ultraviolet to infrared in both directions. Just like the musical scale goes on forever from C in both directions, so does light. And we see a very tiny sliver of it right in the middle of visible light that we can perceive with our eyes. There's a whole bunch of light that we can't even detect, not even with instruments. Some of it we can, but it goes even beyond our ability to connect it. I mean, to detect it. So what that means is there's a lot of light being shined on this planet and this solar system that we can't perceive, but it's doing something. It's there. What's it for? If you can't perceive it, what's it for? If you've listened to any of my talks in the past, then you know I'm a believer that everything in this realm is symbiotic. There's not one wasted thing on Earth. Everything needs something else to survive. Like mushrooms, they pull water up closer to roots, and trees benefit from the mushrooms pulling water up. And in return, the mushroom gives the tree nutrients, and the tree gives the mushroom sugars, and it's a symbiotic relationship. And the ants who live in the ground survive on both, and they get to stay close to that so they can drink and be well watered. Mosquitoes are there to feed fish and birds and things like that, and they in turn have a service that they perform. Everything on this planet requires something else on this planet to survive. I don't know if you're aware of this, if you ever had cows before, but cows require humans to have birth. It's not very good. They're not very good at it. You ever heard of a cow puller? Look it up if you haven't. If you're older than 30, you probably know what that is. If you're younger than 30, you probably are shaking your head at the screen going, what the hell is a cow puller? Well, it's how humans help cows have babies because they have a hard time doing it. And if that were the case, if there were never any humans around cattle, they would probably all die out because it requires effort a lot. And plus, they produce milk, and you have to milk the cow to keep it milking. If you don't milk it, it gets very sore and very swollen, and it's not a good look. Anyway, And plus, we eat cows. And plus, they graze on land, which causes the fields to be regenerative. If you don't have animals in a field, it just grows up and becomes a thicket. But if you have animals, they keep the fields trimmed and they use the bathroom, and that causes worms, and then that feeds birds, and birds turn up the ground, and then the hogs come in and eat the worms, and it's a whole process. Everything in the universe requires everything else in the universe to work. Same thing with gravity, same thing with electromagnetic fields and forces and things like that. Everything, all the planets are there like a balance and a protector. We have a magnetic field that protects the Earth from ultraviolet radiation from the sun, and it also helps protect cosmic rays. But we also have Jupiter, which keeps all of the debris that's flying through our solar system from hitting us. It's got such a strong gravity pull that it will pull off course anything that's headed for Earth. And we've got Mars, and we've got Mercury on both sides, and Venus that trap all of that. So the chances of us getting hit by anything of massive size is very little. Despite what the History Channel will have you believe, it is not a regular occurrence for anything that big to get that close to us, because there's a lot out there that'll stop it. You witnessed this in 1995. Halley's Comet swung a little close to Earth, and it went right in and hit Jupiter, and we got pictures of it, so you get to see that. And had it hit the Earth, it would have been bad. Lisa Reen says, frequencies? I have an AAS in electronics. And one of the first courses was communications. It was in 1995, but that stuff is still the same. The frequencies and sine waves and colors and stuff. Yes, Lisa Reen, that is what we're talking about. Everything we use in electronics today is built on these principles that I'm briefly topping on tonight. I'm not going to get too heady. I'm just going to kind of touch the surface of it to get you thinking a little bit, because it's something I think about a lot. But it is very interesting. And I have a degree in electronics technology also, Lisa Reen. Mine's in technology, though. Yours is probably in something else. Kevin Cox, what's up, my brother? Good to see you. April Rain, how are you, sweetheart? Hello, everyone. Is Mom here? Yes, she is. Kevin says, hey, Darlene, I am with your lovely daughter. Hey, Amanda and Lisa Reen. And Darlene says, hey, Kevin. Hey, April. And April says, hey, Kevin. Amanda says, hey, Kevin. And hey, April. All right. So all of these things in our solar system on the plane that we are in, because all of the planets are on a plane out from the sun. They don't rotate in every direction. They're pretty relatively close to one plane across where the sun is. And they're there not only to protect the planet, but all of the gravity pull and stuff keeps all the planets where they are. And if one were to explode, they would move over and take up the empty space, and everything would balance back out. It's a self-fixing system. How do I know that to be true? Because between Mars and Jupiter, there's an asteroid belt, which used to be a planet. And if you'll go back to ancient Sumeria and look at some of their wall drawings, you'll see that they have a solar system on those walls with 10 planets in them. We now know that there's more like 28 planets in our solar system, but most of them are on the outskirts and they're planetoids. They're not full planets, but they're there. And we've just started discovering them. And there may be a big one out there that we haven't found yet. So there might actually be 10 planets in the solar system, full on planets. Don't know yet. We're still looking into that. But it's my belief that they're all there for a reason. Same thing with this planet. And despite what science will tell you, this planet is the bee's knees. This is what it's all about. Everything in the universe is there to make this planet work. Even the lights in the sky, the little pinpoints that we call stars, they're all there for the same reason. They have properties. They do things. They produce stuff out there that causes this thing to function. Science will eventually catch up to that idea. That's a fringe idea. And some people will even disagree with that, but it's true. And if you go looking, you'll find more and more evidence that backs that up. April is lovely until she gets a knife, says Kevin. You are absolutely right. Lisa Reen says, hello, Jake, Amanda, Darlene, April, and Kevin. Hello. April says, Mama, he went to Beef's by himself and brought me back food. How sweet. That is sweet. Did you bring us anything? April says, how's everybody doing? Great. April says, I'm lovely, always. And yes, I keep a weapon near me. You should. You absolutely should. Darlene says, hey, Lisa Reen. And Amanda says, doing great, April. April says, Lisa Reen, good to see you, love. Amanda, Mama, anyone else in chat? Well, there's 9 people here. About 4 of them are talking, but that's okay. What's the topic tonight? Light, sound, and the universe of good vibrations. That's what we're going to touch on tonight. I'm not going to get too deep. I just want you to be thinking about it, because as the weeks progress, I'm going to come back to this topic a few times and get deeper and come into more ideas and introduce more thoughts about what I think this is all about. Because there is an answer, and most people aren't hearing it. Now, if you go talk to the people that are involved in quantum physics and string theory and M theory and all of that sort of stuff, there's murmurings amongst them about this answer. They do talk to themselves about this sort of thing, but it's not a thing the public gets to hear a lot of, because mostly it doesn't agree with the narrative that's been pushed since time immemorial, since the 1800s. That's the biggest reason, and because people want to keep their jobs, and because a lot of it is theoretical, because there is no way to prove some of this stuff. I'll give you an example. Has anybody ever heard that the star Alpha Centauri is 4.5 billion light years from Earth? 4.5 billion. And what a light year is how fast that light will travel in a year at the speed of light. So if you take that distance, that's a light year, 1 light year. Somebody asked me one time what a light year was, and I told them it's the same thing as a regular year. It just has less calories, but that the distance that light travels in 1 year, that's a light year. And this is 4.5 billion light years from Earth. That's the closest star to us outside of the Andromeda galaxy. It's the actual star by itself. Now, my question is how do you know that? Because that sounds emphatic. It sounds like I know because I measured it. It's 4.5. That's a specific number. Billion light years from Earth. Okay. Well, I know how to measure things, and the way you measure something that's far away is by triangulation. You have to have 2 points to guess the third point by using the arc between the 2 points and watching how it bends. Now, that's a long way away. And the furthest apart that we can actually get for 2 measurements is, say, if we take a measurement in January and then we wait till July, we should be on the other side of the sun, and we take a measurement there. So from January to July, the Earth is rotated halfway around the sun. So we've got 2 measurements. And then we've got the third thing, which is the place that we're trying to measure. So we shoot a beam from both of those measurements, theoretically, because nothing can actually reach that, but we theoretically draw a line, and then we measure the angle between the 2 lines. At 6 months distance, I couldn't even begin. That's 2 astronomical units, which is how far the Earth is from the sun. That's 1 astronomical unit. So if you take 2 of those, that's the biggest distance apart we can get to take a measurement. At that distance, 4.5 billion light years, that triangle would be so thin that you could not see the 2 lines together near the end of it. They would be too close together. We're talking about a spire so thin you could not measure it. That's not possible. If you'd have told me it was a light year away, I might believe you. But 4.5, there's no way you can measure that. You are completely guessing at this point. There's no way. Trust me on this. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm emphatically saying you cannot measure that far of a distance. There's no way to know that. So you guess. That's the best way I can figure it. Holly, welcome to the show. April says, I just hit the like button. Anybody else? Hit that like button. There's 9 people in chat. There's only 7 likes. Come on. 2 people. Kevin says, I got you a cheeseburger and fries. It's in the mail. Well, when it gets here, I'll throw it in the microwave and enjoy every bit of it. Or my cats will, because I won't eat a 3-day-old hamburger. You know. April says, but it's the thought that counts. Mama, how's everyone there on your end? Says April. A big ball of gas. I hope it stays there. Well, interestingly enough, it is not. You're referring to a star. It is not a big ball of gas. It is a big ball of plasma. Plasma being the 4th state of matter. Yes. 4th or 5th state. And it's basically the same thing lightning is. Lightning is also plasma. So you'll get an idea of what that looks like. That's what the sun is doing. I don't know about the stars because, contrary to popular belief, no one has ever seen one. What they see, even in a telescope, is the same thing you see laying on the ground, a little white dot in the sky. They have no idea what it looks like or what it's made of or what happens to it. All they can do, now this is one thing they can do, they can measure the light and put it into a spectrum like a prism. You know what a prism is. You've seen light turn into a rainbow when it goes through a crystal. So they can take the light that is measured from that star through a telescope and then turn it into a prism. And that prism shows up in different colored lines on a piece of paper. Now, you may have seen one of those before. You take those different colored lines, and every so often there'll be a black line. And that black line is in the place of something that is analogous to something that's on the periodic table. So if there's 3 black lines in 3 locations, you can look and see which element that is, and you can kind of figure out what's in the atmosphere of whatever it is you're looking at based on its light. And that's a guess. It's a good guess, but it's a guess nonetheless, because you don't really know what that light is doing by the time it gets here. It may have gone through several dust clouds or nebulas or black holes, if there even is such a thing. You don't know if it's the light that you're receiving is the light that it's putting off. But so it's a guess. Holly says, hi, I am Elena. I am 14 years old. Elena, welcome to the show. Pay attention. You might learn something. Or not. You might can teach us something. Are you a brilliant 14-year-old? If so, I want to know what's on your mind. Amanda says, hi, Elena. Or Elena. 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 I'm going with Elena. That means breath of God. Or something like that. Darlene says, it's all good, April. Elena says, thanks. You're welcome. Hi, Elena. Welcome, says April. Hi, says Elena. April says, how are you? How did you find our channel? That's a good question. I've never heard anybody ask that one before. Elena, how did you come about the Untethered podcast? I am just going through live streams. I got you. Well, I hope you stick around for a little while. Kevin says there is no sports update. Why? No one cares about the hockey all-star game and the Pro Bowl. However, WWE is on. The shh is important. Well, the one thing I know about sports, and I know very little, is that Kansas is going to win the Super Bowl. I know that. Write it down that I said so. I don't even know when the Super Bowl is, but they're going to win. April says, Jake does Bible study on Sundays at 8 p.m. and Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. You should come back and listen to It's Inspiring, says April. Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. And April says, wow, that's interesting. Message deleted. Hi, Margie. Welcome to the show. Sam Coker. Hi, everyone. I like gloves. Well, keeps your fingers warm, right? Amanda says, hi, Sam. Hello, Aunt Deb. Good to see you, love, says April. April says, Sam, welcome. South Heights. WTF is this? It's a telephone, and you've been staring into it way too long. And I'm a person on the other end of it. Video. It's a thing that was invented in the 60s, and now they put it on telephones for some reason. Welcome to the show. We are talking about light. Light is a very interesting substance. It doesn't present itself to be any particular thing or many particular things. It depends on how you're looking at it or if you're looking at it. Light is a very peculiar thing. Light slowed down to a certain frequency becomes matter. How do I know that? Well, you have to get into quantum physics. You have to get into string theory. And once you realize that all strings, little vibrations in the Planck realm, down in the smallest measurements of things that we can measure in the atoms of everything, is all vibrating little particles. And they all come together vibrating like this. And depending on what you are, whether you're a person or a table or a tree, you have a certain frequency. Your atoms do. All things in the universe, all things are made up of atoms. Atoms are 99.9999995% empty space. If you could take 8 billion people that are on planet Earth right now, roughly speaking, give or take a few 100,000, about 8 billion people. If you took all of those people and removed the empty space between their atoms, you could fit all 8 billion people in a sugar cube. Think about that for a minute. That's how much empty space is in everything. Everything that's made up of atoms. Now, yes, the double slit experiment, South, I'm getting there. I think I will stick around, says South. Thank you. Welcome to the show. April says, South Heights, music welcome. It's called the double slit experiment. Yes, it is. There is an experiment where they take light and send it through a piece of paper that has 2 slits in it. And then there's another piece of paper behind that. And the light goes through those 2 slits. And what you would expect to see on the other side is 2 slits of light. But that's not what happens. You see a bunch of slits of light. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, I don't know about the entire experiment. There's a lot more to it than that. But if you look around, that's what you'll see on television and all that. They do other things. But here's the interesting thing about light. Depending on whether or not you're looking at it, it acts like a wave, and sometimes it acts like a particle. Those are 2 different things. A wave is a sine wave. You know that. A particle is a physical, tangible object. That's light, though. It's not supposed to act like a particle, but it does. And you know why? Because when you slow light down to a certain frequency, it becomes matter. So what I'm telling you is that everything in the universe is built out of light. That's the first building block in everything. Now, how do I know that to be true? I can back it up with the Bible. Here it goes. God created the heavens and the earth. He created the earth void and without form, which means the building blocks were there, but the earth was not put together. It was just stuff, right? The very next thing he does is he said, let there be light. And there was light and it was good. Now the earth has form. Well, he said, let there be light. Why? Well, because he couldn't see what he was doing, obviously. Duh. You're building a universe in the dark here, buddy. You need some light. No. The light that he was referring to, keep in mind, the sun has not been made yet, nor have the stars. Right now, you're in a black void with the building blocks of what the earth is made out of and some water. That's what's there. And the next thing he does is says, let there be light. Why? Well, he's talking about the spectrum of light that you can't see with your eyes. He's talking about electromagnetic waves. He's talking about ultraviolet light, X-rays, gamma rays, all of that stuff he created next. On day 4, he created the sun and the stars. That's day 4. There's 3 other days of creating stuff before the sun and the stars were created. And surprisingly, for those of you atheists out there that don't believe in the Bible, science backs that up. The Bible got it right. So there you go. You have it. So what am I saying? What science has not said thus far is that everything is made of light. Light happens. Now, what is light made of? Well, that's simple. Sound. How do I know that? Because the Bible specifically states, God said, he spoke. The word universe, incidentally, means single spoken phrase. That's what the word means. So, God made some sort of sound, and from it came all things. Now, that may sound a little bit trippy and a little bit ethereal and a little bit out there until you start realizing that all of the stars are singing. And the planets too, they make noises. You can go on Google and type in, what does Jupiter sound like? And you'll get a recording of a sound that it makes when they're outside of it listening to it. Obviously, this isn't an audible sound. It is a sound of frequencies that they pick up with very sensitive instruments and whatnot. But it is a sound, and it can be translated into an audible sound. The stars are humming and singing along with the universe, and so does our sun, which may or may not be a star. We don't know that. They just call it that because they think that all the other white dots are the same as that white dot because it's a lot closer and we can see it. Doesn't matter. Sound is a vibration. Incidentally, do you know what the shape of sound is? If you could color it, say you uttered a sound, what does the shape of that look like? It has a shape. It's spherical, and it's really tempting to say toroidal, which is like a vortex, but that's not the case. It's not a vortex. It's spherical because it goes out in every direction at the same time and touches the farthest reaches of the room it's in at the same time. Now, it's not a thing that goes on forever like light speed. Light does travel forever if it's the right kind of light. But sound has a limit, i.e., I can say something really loud, but you in Florida cannot hear me because this sound will never reach you. It will dissipate long before it leaves my yard, probably. So we got a distance, but while it's expanding, that sound is in the shape of a circle all the way around. What does that mean? It means that audible sounds have power. They can move things. They can manipulate the world around you, especially reality. You can speak something into existence within reason. I mean, it's not magic, so you can't like, poof, there's a dragon because I said it. But you can say something and it affect someone else's life, and they can have a tangible thing happen to them because of what you said. So words do have power. And if you write things down, they have power. Because once you write it down, you have written a spell that you can refer to, you can remember, you can get the details of, you can remind yourself, you can do the list that you wrote. It's a powerful thing to write things down. All this to say that sound is power. Because the power of God used sound to create everything. And the was light, the periodic table, the elements of the universe, the things that are in the nebulas, the things that are in stars, the things that are in the earth. All of that stuff is different frequencies of light. Believe that or not, at your peril. Amanda says, South, well, around, be respectful, but you're more than welcome to come and stick around and learn something, says Amanda. Retro gaming. Hang on. Not made of atoms. No, God is not made of atoms. God is outside of time, space, and matter. He created time, space, and matter. So everything we know is in this little bubble, and everything that's outside of that bubble is God. You're absolutely right about that, Retro Gaming. Thanks. Amanda says, hi, Retro, welcome. And April says, hit the like button. Thanks. April says, LOL, Jake. Hang on. I got things going on here. There we go. For some reason, my phone is sent out on me. So, electromagnetic energy is a vibrative substance. Electromagnetic force is vibration. Light is a vibration. It works just like a wave, and a wave creates vibration. It also works like a particle, which is a physical, tangible thing, which is what everything's made out of. So if you vibrate that particle at a certain frequency, it becomes a certain thing. That's what I'm saying. Nikola Tesla understood this. He talked about it briefly in certain documents that he wrote, and he was thinking along these lines. And he used mathematics, which is also a tangible thing that has been here from the beginning. It never changes whether we're here or not. So it is a intelligent, self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what math is. And you can learn anything by speaking the language of math. Questions, criticisms, comments? Let me know what you're thinking. I know this is a taboo idea, but it's necessary because the whole world has been trying to figure out what it is since it began. And a lot of people had a lot of good ideas over the years, and some not so much, i.e. atheism and Darwinism and that sort of stuff. But there are a lot of scientists out there, like the guys who discovered the genome and mapped out the first human genome. Those guys felt like they had touched the fingerprints of God. They said as much. They were like, this is clearly a code. Well, what's a code? A code is a frequency. It's a set of instructions. Just like the zeros and ones in your computer, they are put there by frequencies of electricity. Electricity is frequencies. If you don't believe that, get shocked. That vibration you feel when you get shocked is a frequency. Lisa Reno will tell you she's got a degree in communications. She studied frequencies. All radio signals, all Wi-Fi, all consciousness comes in on frequencies. Your consciousness, by the way, is not contained inside of this meat sack that is you. It is in heaven with God currently, as it always has been. But it is connected to your consciousness via Wi-Fi, for lack of a better word, that runs this meat sack. And when you die, when this clay pot breaks, the silver cord parts, the spirit goes back to the Father who gave it. Why? Because it's already there. And now you know. Now you can doubt that if you like. I wouldn't blame you. I doubted it for a lot of years myself. I've been wrestling with this for a long time. But I assure you, I'm as correct as I know I can be, as I think I can be. Without more study. There's no other way to find out any of this stuff. It's all introspective. It's all theoretical. There's no way to know the unknowable, but you can poke at it. You can guess, and that's what I'm doing. And I think I'm right, or right, more right than what's come before it. You can look back at ancient stone monuments and drawings and cave art and things like that, and you'll begin to see patterns of things that's all over the world that nobody talks about, like the lotus flower or the tree of life, the chakras symbol that you've seen before, or the little ball that's under the lion's paw in China that looks like a big flower. They call it a lotus, but it's not a lotus. What it is the tree of life in spherical form. And inside of these detailed pictures that seem to pop up everywhere, the little spirals, I know you've seen those before. These are ideas that people were wrestling with even then. And they wrote them down the only way they knew how. This is a thing that I'm working on. Maybe somebody else will see it and figure it out, you know. Well, what it is they began to understand the substance of the universe. That's what they were pondering. And they began to see glimpses of it, but didn't know how to put it into perspective, because even now we struggle with that. And we're on the verge of creating AI, which is an artificial intelligence. And we still have no idea what we're doing. We're literally thumbing around in the dark on that one, because it does take intelligence to create life, but something a lot more intelligent than we are currently. Man is not God, despite their desire to be continually. Man is not God, and they shouldn't play God, but nonetheless, they do. I have a deep respect to real science, says Dana. Hey, Dana. I have disdain for pseudoscience. Greetings. Well, depending on which side of me you stand on, this is either real science or pseudoscience. Your choice. I don't know which to tell you. A scientist would tell you I'm talking nonsense. This is pseudoscience. I couldn't possibly be correct. However, I implore you to listen and look into what I'm saying, and you'll find out that I'm touching on some stuff that's master level secrecy. You'll learn some things if you pay attention. I can't say everything. Obviously, I've got an hour. This is a lifetime of study that I cannot condense into an hour, but I can hit the highlights and you can think about it. Nikola Tesla was real science, right? And what I'm talking about tonight is the same thing he was thinking about then in 1939. And he created everything that we use today, electronic, came from his brain. He didn't create everything, but he created the ideas. He put forth the ideas that everybody else expanded on, and now we have cell phones and, Velcro. But you're absolutely right. April says, well said. Jake, thank you, dear. And Amanda says, hi, Dana. April says, Dana, much love. Good to see ya. IDK, bro. ChillStream. What up, Stream? I think that's what you mean. What's up, IDK, bro? Margie Allen says, God is life. When a person's life leaves them, it returns to God. God, life never dies. That is correct. God is more than life, though. He created life. So he's above life. He's beyond it. I see a bunch of detracted messages here. That's not a good thing to be doing. Amanda says, hi, IDK. What's up? Amanda says, the real. Hi. Dana says, hi, April Rain. Hi, dear. Stop it now. Don't make me have to get on to you, real. IDK, bro, welcome. The real me, welcome, says April. Bye, real me, says April. Amanda says, LOL. IDK says, W means win because this stream is awesome. Thank you, IDK, bro. I appreciate that. You have to understand that we live in a world full of information that is incorrect. Uh-oh. Just about killed my stream there. I hit my charger. We have a lot of information floating around in the world, and most of it is wrong. I can prove that, but you'd have to be specific on the thing we're talking about, and then I'd have to delve into it to show you. And if you want to do that, we can do that. I can lay it out in streams, and we could do one a night or something like that. But Mark 12:27, he is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Correct, Dana. And April says, thank you, IDK, bro. Yeah, we do have an awesome stream here with a lot of awesome people, and I'm glad you're one of them now. So, literally, you live in what string theory scientists are referring to as a hologram. And the reason they're using that word is because there's no other word to describe what they have discovered. And what they have discovered is that all things can be broken down into little tiny dots. And those little dots are called strings. And so far, they haven't been able to get any smaller than that. That's the smallest things, but there's little strings everywhere, little short strings just worming around like little worms everywhere. And it looks like pixels. So they're calling it a hologram because it looks like we live in a realm that is a shadow of a much larger realm, meaning this is the dimension that the higher dimension contains. And that's a little bit esoteric, but that's the way they're seeing it. And a lot of them have started combing through the Bible because it's been saying that for years. And they're just now coming to it. There's a meme out there that I'm very fond of, and it's a mountaintop. And there's this guy with a backpack on that says atheist on the back, and he's climbing up the mountain with all he's got, and he's sweating, and you can see he's really struggling. And he reaches over the top, and then it switches to the next screen, and it's a man sitting on a chair with a book that says theist sitting there waiting on him. He's been up at the top the whole time, and the atheist is climbing up to get to the top. And when he gets there, he finds the Bible. That's exactly the way it works. And a lot of them are going that way. That's why you should never discredit an atheist just because they don't believe in God. Yeah, it's aggravating. Yeah, they have a very emphatic way of arguing their point. Yes, you know better, and you can't make them see better, but just wait. As long as they're breathing, they've got a chance to figure it out. As long as they're still alive, they've got a chance to turn around and come to God, and a lot of them do. A lot of them do. Most of them do. Most atheists are atheists because they're mad at God in the first place. How can you be mad at somebody that doesn't exist? The other ones that actually don't believe there is a God are just immoral creatures. They're non-player characters. You can't trust them for nothing. But even they can be turned on to reality at some point. And I'm speaking about it like it's reality because it is reality. We live in a universe that was created by a creator. Now, whatever that creator is another topic, another conversation. I don't know. I know what I've chosen to believe, which is the religion that I teach on Sundays and Mondays. But I couldn't tell you for certainty no more than Gandhi could who God is. But I know there is one, and I know that there's something above me in the hierarchy of things, that I am not God. Dana says, I don't believe in theory. There is a new curriculum written for the schools, colleges, and universities in Europe, and they will start teaching that our Earth is a hologram sci-fi curriculum. Yes. Well, like I just said, for lack of a better word, it kind of is. But not in the way that you think, not like the holograms we know about. What I mean by that is it takes on properties that seem to be an image that's created from a higher place. It seems to be a shadow of a greater. Do you know what a tesseract is? Or a hypercube? So if you take a hypercube, which is a cube with more than 4 sides, inner sides and outer sides, and it gets complicated. It's a mathematical thing. But if you shine a light, oddly enough, on that hypercube and look at the shadow that it shines, even though this thing looks like this, the shadow shows you a lot of things that you can't see with your eye, because this is in 3 dimensions, and that shadow is a shadow of more than 3 dimensions. So you can see the effect of it, but you can't see the dimension it's coming from. So to you, it just looks like one of those Dungeons and Dragons dice, one of those octagonal shaped things. But the shadow of it shows you an image of the 4th dimension, so that you can use that to make mathematical guesses about what that 4th dimension may be. our universe is that same kind of thing, like the shadow on the wall. We can tell that there's more going on. Why do you think they created dark matter and dark energy and black holes and things like this? It's nonsense. But they have to do that because the world don't add up. The universe does not add up. The math don't work. There's something else has to be going on. So they reach, and they've been reaching since the 1800s to try to figure out what else it could be. Because there's more stuff than there should be, and there's way more weight than there should be, and there's way more energy than there should be, based on what we've seen, what we've observed. So this universe appears to be a creation. It appears to be a shadow of a higher dimension, and that higher dimension is heaven. If you read the Bible very carefully, it very clearly makes a distinction between heaven and heavens, which is plural. And it says on several occasions that God created the heaven and the heaven and the heavens, which is 3 dimensions higher than terra firma, which is the firmament, which is above the firmament, below the firmament. So April says, I know that too, Jake. It's going to take someone going through a life-changing experience for many to believe. That is a fact. Dana says, they already condition the minds of men to accept this new teaching, quote, quote, via the Hollywood propaganda like Star Trek and Star Wars, and many people will jump on it right away. Well, I love Star Trek, and I'm okay with Star Wars, but it's a little too fantasy for me. I love Star Trek, but it's fiction. That can't happen in real life. I have my doubts as to whether or not we can even leave this place. I think it's a closed system, and I have good reason to think that, but I could be wrong. You'd have to look into that yourself. I don't know. But I kind of think we live in a closed system. And if that's the case, you can't leave that closed system. When I say a man, I mean mankind. Yes, ma'am, I understand. They have taught mankind. And you're right. There's a lot of propaganda. In fact, all of it is propaganda. There's been propaganda since they began making radio back in the day. As long as there's been a media to listen to, it's been putting out propaganda. All movies are like that, and it's more than I would like because I love movies. But as I get older, I begin to see things that I didn't see the first time around. Things that are just slipped in there nonchalantly, little details that seem to stick in your head. And that's propaganda. That's teaching you how to. There is nothing that appears on the TV screen that hasn't been documented and been asked for permission to use. Nothing accidentally shows up, even in any scene. If you look at any scene in any movie, if there's dirt on the ground, someone requested that dirt be put there. It was not there randomly. And if there is anything randomly, they have to get permission or else they have to remove it. That's the way movies are made. If you read the credits in movies, you'll see there are teams and teams and teams of people that are dedicated to just putting stuff in a scene. Like what's in the background, like what's on the clothing of the people that are there. You ever notice how many people smoke a cigarette in movies, especially the older ones? There's a reason for that. The reason is because it's a propaganda to get people to smoke. Because in those days, we were making lots and lots of money off of tobacco. This country was built on tobacco mostly. And they wanted that their interest was to get people to smoke. So all the stars would have a cigarette. Even if they didn't smoke, when they were in a movie, they had a cigarette. And that happened right on up to the 90s. They stopped doing it around 92 or 93, and it started going away. And even today, a couple of people smoke, but most of the time you don't see that in movies anymore because they changed narratives, because now they're making money off of something else, and they've done away with the tobacco industry. And if you live in North Carolina like I do, where they grow tobacco, you begin to see the farms drying up everywhere. The ones that used to be big and lush and rich are now just barely getting by because they still grow tobacco, but they're not selling it like they used to because it just ain't as much of it going out. So it becomes a problem. Data says it's a closed system. I agree. The world flood would be impossible without a closed system. Container or contain the waters. Amen. April says, yes. Well, the thing is the Bible says that God placed a firmament above the ground. Now, firmament, if you look up the meaning of that word, it means something akin to a scale, like on a fish, or a beaten out piece of metal, like a shield. It's got that kind of context to it in the ancient languages. And that tends you to think that it's solid. Why would they name it that or use that word if that's not what they meant? Now, if you think about that, we got the atmosphere, and you know that if anything comes in the atmosphere, it heats up really hot, catches on fire, and usually blows up before it hits the ground. It has to be really, really, really big before it hits the ground, or really, really, really tiny. But anything of moderate size, the friction of coming into the atmosphere and the angle in which it hits the atmosphere will heat it up so much that it'll burst into flames before it gets here. Take that into consideration. Then you got outside the atmosphere, what we just discovered in the 80s was the Van Allen radiation belt, which surrounds the Earth. And it's about, depending on who you listen to, 1,000 or 10,000 miles thick, depending on who's answering that question. It's big, whatever it is. And it is the kind of radiation that will kill you instantly. There's been people like Werner von Braun who would say something like, you would have to have a 6 foot thick solid lead container to pass people through the Van Allen radiation belt without harming them. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I hadn't been up there, but there's a lot of scientists that seem to think that. And I kind of think that if we live in a closed system, that would make sense. I thought it meant ground. Thanks, Jake. Nope. Terra firma means ground. Firmament is anything that's above ground. Air is terra firma, where the birds fly. Space is terra firma, where the stars are. Space is firmament, where the stars are. And heaven is firmament, where God is. And there's layers above that. I don't know how many, but the Bible mentions 3 that I'm aware of. And some scientists think there might be as many as 11 dimensions that we can't access, but are there nonetheless. And there may be more. I don't know. But that's what it looks like. Dana says, Job describes the firmament perfectly. It's like a molten looking glass. Molten is extremely strong looking glass. Means mirror. Okay. And here it is in Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as molten looking glass. But God says a few other things in there too. Job is an extremely informative and good looking book, and it's very scientific in its depictions. It's mostly God dressing down Job for being a moron, and there's like 37 or 38 chapters of it. It's a lot of God telling Job where to put it. And I recommend everybody read it. It's a fantastic book, and there is some great information in there, but it kind of describes cursory how God put everything together. He measured it. He put the plumb line on it. He put the stars where they are. He commanded them to do what they do every day. He commands the winds to blow. He commands the daylight to come and the darkness to come. There's a lot of stuff God does, and he does it daily, every day. It's not a random thing. Every day you walk outside and feel wind on your face, know that God is actively involved in this universe. He's not an absentee landlord like some people like to think. He's here every day and right in front of you. He could be that far from your face and you couldn't perceive it because he's in another dimension, one outside of the 3 dimensions we live in. April says, yes, I read Job very deep, and thanks, Dana, for the recap. Dana says, Job is the most scientific book in my mind. Great study. It is. And Genesis is very scientific, and there's a lot of scientific stuff sprinkled out through the Bible. Isaiah has a few points. Revelations has a few points, but you have to know how to read it because it is written in parable or it is esoteric. 2 Corinthians 12:2. I knew a man in Christ above 14 years ago. Whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether in the body, whether out of the body, I cannot tell. God knoweth. Such a one caught up to the third heaven. That's a very good one there. Genesis is loaded. Yes, it is, Dana. April says, yes, it is. Yes, but there's 3 heavens that I'm aware of, and I may be aware of some more, but they're all conjecture. I can't prove it. But those heavens are dimensions, other places, other realms that are not in this 3-dimensional space, but are right here amongst us. I mean, we're like playing cards, one on top of another. We're that close together, but we're so far apart because we can't perceive the other dimensions. Those dimensions are carve-outs. Everything God created, think of it like being in a bubble. Everything God created. Now, I don't know how big that bubble is, but everything God created, he created it in wherever God is. And inside of that bubble is time, space, and matter. Outside of that bubble is God. I don't know what else is outside of that bubble because there's nothing written about it anywhere. Or if there is anything outside of the bubble, it might just all be God. He might just be everything outside of it. I don't know. I know God is not a person. He has a personality, but he's not a human being. He did create man in his image, which is another word to describe a shadow of something from a greater place, which is what we're talking about. He did create man to be a hologram of him. And I'm using the word hologram because that's the word that scientists use to describe something they barely understand. They barely got their fingertips on it. They see it, but they don't know what it is yet, and they're working on it. And I'll tell you what it is, and it's a little bit lackluster when you figure it out, but it is also mind-blowing when you figure it out because you never thought of it that way before. What they're seeing is everything is built out of light at different frequencies. That's it. That's the secret. Light is the secret. Now, back to the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about atoms and how they're mostly empty space. You can't do this, but if you could, see, your atoms are vibrating back and forth, and that's what causes you to have shape. You've never actually touched anything because there's so much space. If you were to put your finger on the table and then took a microscope and looked way down between your fingers, if you got big enough with that microscope, like say electronic microscope, where you could get really down in there, you would see that there's a space between your finger and the table. When you put 2 sheets of steel together, the reason you can't just pull them apart is because they're not touching. There is friction holding them together. But in between them is a very thin layer of friction, of vibration, as it were. They're not physically touching, though. And they've proven that. Same thing with you and touching things. The reason this table feels solid is because the atoms that make up this wood are vibrating at a different frequency than the atoms that make up this hand. So when they touch, they repel or they stop each other, feeling solid to us. Our brain perceives that as solid, even though it's not solid. It's mostly empty space. But the parts that are there are vibrating at such a frequency that you can't pass through it. Now, if for some way they've made some magical thing where you could change the frequencies of your atoms, you could pass your hand right through this table. It'd be like it wasn't even there. You'd see it, but it wouldn't be solid. You can't do that, obviously, but if you could just walk right through the walls, or you could sink right through the floor into the earth and right through the earth if you wanted to, if you could change your frequencies. But you can't because God put those things where they are specifically. And what does that mean? Well, everything in the universe is specific. They call it the Goldilocks rule. And what they mean by that is it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's just right. Mathematically speaking, everything in the universe, everything, every detail, if it were off by 1% in either direction, good or bad, up or down, left or right, in or out, doesn't matter, 1%, and this whole place would fall apart. It would evaporate. We should not be here. This place should not exist, yet it does. And that's baffling to the greatest minds out there, because nothing about this place says it should work. It's like a bumblebee. It won't even fly on paper, but it does. But if you try to mathematically figure out how a bumblebee flies, you can't do it. Doesn't make any sense. It's all wrong. The physics are wrong. Wings are way too small. The body's way too big and bulbous. It leans forward when it flies before it takes off, that sort of thing. It doesn't work. But it does. And why does it? Because God takes the simple things to confound the wise. And he takes the wise things to enlighten the stupid. It just kind of works out that way. So you ask yourself, what is all this about? Why does it matter? Well, it don't. It don't unless you're a kind of person like me that likes to figure things out and understand the world in which you live. That's a very hard thing to do. And it's taken a lifetime, and I'm not even close. But I think I'm on the right track. I could be. I could be way off. You just don't know. There just ain't no way to know. But I know that current methodologies, current ideologies are not meeting the muster. They're not. Like Darwinism sounds great until you scrutinize it. The minute you scrutinize it, it falls apart. You can ask a couple of questions and Darwinism just falls to pieces. Just a couple questions. They're not even hard questions, You don't even have to ask a question. You can just give a smart-ass comment like, really? Just ask really, and it'll fall apart. Because they'll say things emphatically like, this fossil is 13 million years old. Really? How do you know? Because we tested the rock that it's in with carbon-14 testing. How do you know the rock is 14 million years old? Because we tested the fossil that's in it. Really? That's what you're telling me? Yeah, there's no date on rocks. So you test a rock by what fossils you find in it. That's how you know how old the rock is. How old do you know how old the fossils are? By what layer of rock it's in. That don't work for me. Does it work for you? It don't work for me. Cryptic Soldier says, Merga. And yes, it is. Welcome to the show. Amanda says, hi, Cryptic. Welcome. Please hit that like button if you hadn't done so already. So, you need to understand the world you live in because you live in it. And you're only going to be here for a little while. And if you would like to get the most out of living in it, then you need to understand it. Or you could just float along and do things as you've been doing, and that's fine too. There's no rules. You don't have to be a thinker. You can just exist. You can just let the world wash over you and follow all the rules that are put before you and listen to all the people that said things before you and all that. Or you could be a critical thinker and question the universe that's in front of you. Question what you see, why you see it. What is it there for? What's the reason we exist? Well, the answers are here. So if you want to know those answers, you can find them. You have to ask. Ask and you shall be answered. Knock and it shall be opened. Give and you shall receive. Dana says, everything is preordained by God Almighty and no man can change it. Correct. There are many who think they are gods and they believe in their prideful minds they can improve or change God's creation. Correct. There are those. And you can't. You can't do what God does. I was watching a movie one time, and it was Noah and somebody he was talking to. And that somebody was an atheist. It was Noah trying to get people to come get on the ark. I forget what movie it was. But he was saying all kinds of things about science this and science that. And, we know all of these things and we can do all of these things and, whatever. And Noah, while this guy was talking, just picked up a flower and held it up. And he said, you see this? I'll believe you if you can make me one of these. Here's the trick, though. You can't start from here because God made the dirt also and the seeds also. So you need to make your own. If you can do that, then I'll buy into what you're telling me because God did it and here it is. If you think you can make one, show me. The dumb dog says, say my name, the dumb dog. You say your name, dumb dog. April says, welcome, the dumb dog. And Amanda says, hi, dumb dog. So your name has been said. Are you happy? Do you feel like you've done something now? Let me stop this whole, universe causality discussion and repeat your name because clearly that's of substance that everybody needs to get a piece of. This whole world building thing boring you? You can lead a dumb dog to water, but you can't make him drink it. How about that? Now, that, my friends, is what we call an opener. Think about what I've said. Ponder on it. Don't just let it go in one ear and out the other. Think about the world in which you live and the meanings of everything you do and why you're here and why it matters. And as we begin this next year, I'm going to expound more on these details as we go. Every podcast won't be exactly the same. I do Bible study on Sunday and Monday, but on Wednesdays and Fridays, I'll pick a topic and delve into it. And we'll keep doing that as we get ever and ever closer to understanding the reality we find ourselves in. That's the purpose of this podcast, and I hope you join me with it. And I will back it all up with the Bible, every word of it. Now, while you're pondering upon what I've said, won't you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, press the bell icon so you get notifications of when my new videos drop and when I'm going to be online. Smash that like button. It's free. It's right in front of you, and it really does help the channel with the algorithms, helps us get recommended to other people, and that's what we want. We want to spread out, so help us do that. Won't you do that? Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring a stranger into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me. Drink my Kool-Aid. Make your own Kool-Aid as long as you're thinking critical. That's what I want. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey, if you dig what you've heard tonight, and you appreciate what I'm trying to do here, and you can see the value in what I'm creating and what you're part of, and you'd like to help out and be part of something special, you can do that. You can support my work by going to paypal.me/Jake Johnson Band, paypal.me/Jake Johnson Band. Or if you're a Cash App user, you can go to $Jake Johnson Band, $Jake Johnson Band. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win. It's a blessing to me. But it's a blessing to you too, because we live in a reciprocal universe, and God tends to notice these things. And I appreciate that. And I'll do everything in my power to be worthy of that support. And I will answer all your questions and comments in the chat, as I always do, right to the very end. That being said, questions, comments, criticisms, catharses, what do you think about the world you live in? I want to know. Bread loafs, bread and circuses, huh? America. Yes, it is. Dana says, and these are the pseudosciences professing themselves to be smart. They become fools. Yes. The fool hath said in his heart, yea, there is no God. That's what a fool thinks. I'm no fool. I may be wrong, but I ain't a fool. Amanda says, hi, Brad. Welcome. Dana says, Romans 1:22, professing themselves to be wise, they became as fools. Yes, they do. Often. Many, many of them. Extreme game broods. YH, we outside. That's good. Extreme game welcome, says Amanda. Kyran, is that how you say that? Kiran. Hello back at you. Amanda says, hi, Kyran, welcome to the show. And thank you. You're welcome. Abel says, hit that like button, subscribe, and support. God bless us all. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. So what do you talk about in this? Well, if you'll scroll back and listen, you'll find out. Tonight we were talking about light, sound, and the good vibrations of the universe. Tomorrow, we won't talk about anything, but Sunday, we'll do some Bible studying. Then we'll do that again on Monday. And then Wednesday, we'll talk about something else. And then Friday, we'll talk about something else. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, right here. Come join us. Margie says, let's put out salt. Makes a little thirsty. Dana says, Romans 1:23, and change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like a corruptible man, and the birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Mm-hmm. Yep, they figure that they know how to create everything, and then they end up making something that is a weak, cheap version of what God created already. And then they say that they have done something fantastic, such as AI. Look at this intelligence that we created, which can't hold a candle to the human mind, not even close. Yeah, it can think fast, but it can't think good. And that's the difference right there. It can't be empathetic. It can't surmise. It can't look into the future and ponder what might be there. It can't lament the past and miss what's missing. It can't do any of that. It can't create art, even though they say it can. No, it cannot. What it can do is scrub the internet for art that's already been created and then make a hodgepodge of that. Just like a Democrat, they can't create anything. Wonder who else can't create anything. And Dana says, Romans 1:24, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. And look outside. That's happening every day. You're absolutely right, Dana. D. Cayenne Harris, welcome. Hi, I'm from Jamaica. Yo, man, what's up? I like Jamaica. Welcome. Karen says, sounds good. Thank you. Amanda says, hi, D. Cayenne. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cayenne? I don't know. I'm sorry. Hello, Amanda, says Cayenne. Cayenne. Spell it out phonetically for me. That's kind of a strange one. April says, that is right, Jake. Yes, it is. I hope you guys have learned something tonight. I hope it's caused you to think. I hope it's caused you to reach out with both hands towards your Father and ask him to be part of your life and to help you see what's right in front of you. That's what we're after. That's what you should be doing. That's entirely up to you. I'm not here to save you. I'm just here to enlighten you. It's above my pay grade, but I will be wrong if I didn't tell you it was an opportunity. I would be wrong if I didn't nudge you in that direction occasionally. April says, good to see y'all. Welcome, newcomers. Not one person on planet Earth is righteous. Not one. There's some that are closer to righteousness than others, but not one person is anything less than filthy rags compared to God. He made you. He knows what you are. He knows what sins are in your heart. He knows what you're going to do before you even do it. Don't let that deter you from trying to do right and be closer to God, because his son died so that you could get away with that stuff. Now, judgment is between you and God. Your salvation is between you and God. I have nothing to do with that. That's not part of my job description. But you should, if there's even a modicum of wisdom bouncing around in that brain of yours, you should be seeking the answers to those questions. Who is God? Why did he create us? Why are we here? What is this all about? And what can I do to be part of it? Because I seem to be. Maybe I should actively be part of it. That's what you should be thinking. And it don't matter if you start there. You can start not believing a thing. You can start as an atheist. But don't let yourself fall into that trap of circular reasoning or believing something because that's what you want to believe. Look for the truth, follow the evidence where it takes you, and go there. And you will always end up at the top of that mountain with that other theologian waiting on you. You'll get there. April says, thanks for the education tonight. I learned a lot. And that righteous comment is a fact. You're welcome, April. It's my pleasure. I figure if God crammed all of this stuff in my head, it would be wrong of me not to blurt it out and let everybody else hear what it is. Dana says, John 10:29, my Father, which gave them me, that's Jesus talking, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. That's because he's got you. He's got a grip on you. He's got a grip on this whole thing. That song, he's got the whole world in his hands. He does. Trust that. Know it. Know that there's nothing that can happen on this planet, good or bad, that he hasn't ordained or allowed. And why would God allow evil things to happen? Why did that little innocent child die of cancer or get hit by a car? What kind of God would let that happen? The kind of God that in his infinite wisdom understood that you, as an individual, required free will to navigate this world and to choose to willingly love him, which is what he wants. It's ultimately why you were created. But you have to choose it yourself. So he gave you the options. This is everything. You can do what you will with it. It's your ship. You can sail it across the 7 seas, or you can drive that sucker right into the rocks. Either way, it's your choice. Dealer's choice. I know the beginning and I know the ending. How you get there is up to you. And that's a fact. That's the limit of preordained things. God put everything in motion. That is preordained. What you do with it is not. God is not controlling you. You make your decisions. You do evil. God doesn't do evil. He created it, but he doesn't do it. He's not possible. It's not possible for God to commit an evil act. Why? This is all his. He can do with it as he wants to. If he wants to take his ball and go home, that's his business. But you're the interloper. You're the guest. You were put here. Now you have to make a decision. A few of them. The first one is, which side of the field are you on? You on the light side or the dark side? Are you the red team or the blue team? You got to make a choice. You can't live through life without making a choice. And you will, one way or another. April says, amen. And Dana says, John 10:29. I read that one, didn't I? I did. So make that choice. Figure out where you are. Figure out who you are, and come to places like this to get your education. Don't listen to CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. They're all going to tell you some version of their idea of the narrative, not the truth. Truth comes from confessing the words of reality. Everything is preordained by the Most High, Almighty God. Well, you heard my opinion on that. I don't think that some things are preordained. I think that overall everything is preordained. I think what you do is your choice. That's what I think. And if you don't believe that, go buy some drugs and see where it takes you. And you can. Nobody will stop you. Or, go do some worse things and watch it happen. You can do it if that's what you want. Ultimately, you can make that ultimate sacrifice. The one. Don't do that, though. It's not your soul. You don't have a right to take it. But what you should be doing is choosing to follow the words that were put here for you to follow. And they've been here this whole time. God said he would leave the inspired word of God with us for us to have access to, that all people would know Jesus before he came back. Well, I defy you to find somebody that's never heard of him. And every motel room in America and every other country has a Bible in it. Every house in America probably has a Bible in it, unless they're atheists. They're everywhere. They've always been everywhere. It's the highest selling book of all times, always has been, always will be. If the word of God is real, I want to hold it. Let me see it. Well, I happen to have a copy of it right over here. There's my Walter Davis. I've been looking for you. He says, good evening all. Internet sick here tonight. Really? April says, amen. Amanda says, hi, Walter. I'm talking about physical science and his creation. Yes, ma'am. I'm not talking about how depraved man can be. Yes, ma'am. I understand. Yes, he did. He does. He set this whole thing in motion. You are absolutely correct. And you've got a very good handle on the ideas that you're putting forth. And I commend you for that. And I require you to be in this podcast because you are a big help to me. You are illuminating the outer layers of the things I'm trying to get to. So I appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you. Everyone says, Walter, hey, good to see you, love. Softball playing chicken farmer. Hey, I love the name, softball. And hey, back at you. Amanda says, hi, softball, welcome. Walter, I was going to call you today, and I forgot. Got busy working on my bike, and I forgot I was supposed to call you, so it got late. Hey, and thanks, says softball. Playing chicken farmer. How many chickens you got? Softball says, thanks. You're welcome. Are you really a chicken farmer? Because if so, you have in your possession the answer to all questions. The most complex question ever asked, you have the answer to it in your hands. Do you know that? Danny says, I will back you up. I got your back. Thank you, love. I appreciate that. It means a lot. April says, how are you doing? Softball says, 13 chickens. Wow. 4 of them died. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Yep, I am, says softball, a farmer. Well, that's fantastic. Now, the next time one of your chickens lays eggs, I want you to go out and grab that egg and hold it up to your face like this and just think. Just think. Which came first? The chicken or the egg? Because you know that chickens come from eggs. They always have. There's never been a chicken that didn't come from an egg. Right? But eggs don't evolve from lower creatures. There's no proto-eggs out there. There just isn't. There's nothing that could even evolve into the things that eggs are made out of. The shell, the chemicals that are in the shell that are highly specific, created by the cloaca of the chicken and their little organs in there that make eggs to produce chickens or food, because not all eggs have chickens in them. In case you didn't know that. Well, what's evolutionary about that, by the way? How can a chicken lay an egg and not have a baby? Well, not all eggs are fertile, but they're all delicious and taste like chicken. Anyway, so you ask yourself, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, the answer to that question is, and it's very simple, and science hates it because it's so simple, the chicken, fully formed and ready to go. That's why. Softball says, LOL, I think that all the time, but I can't think about to get the answer anyway. Well, I just gave you the answer, so now you know. The chicken came first, fully formed and ready to lay an egg. Football Edits, welcome. If you're a simp, then Mr. Beast from Fortnite will slide his... That's one. If you do it again, you're out of here. Dana says chicken with her husband, the rooster. Yes. Yes, chickens came first. Fully formed and ready to go. You just need a pink one and a blue one. Oddly enough, which is for some reason controversial today. Chicken evolved from Tyrannosaurus Rex, so the chicken came first. Tyrannosaurus Rex, chicken. Yeah. April says, cool. Interesting, says Softball. Yes, very interesting. And all that comes with that. So, yes, chicken came first. Plus, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Chicken. I can't see that, though. Well, you don't have to see it. It's logical. Tell me what an egg evolved from. Tell me the process by which eggs came to be. Or seeds, for that matter, which are contained within the seed is a carbon copy of the tree it came from, an exact copy. Because plants copy themselves. They don't mate like we do. They don't have babies like we do, but they do make copies of themselves. They would tear you to pieces and eat you if they were still 20 feet tall. Well, how does that, wouldn't that be de-evolution there, Walter? April says, I get they walk the same way. They walk the same way. They have 2 legs. We walk the same way also, but nobody's counting. Dana says, it is like asking what came first, the baby or the mother. That's how silly this gesture is. That's how silly the question is, yes. But it's a good question, though. It is silly, but it's a good question because the answer is profound. True. But if you think about it, dinosaurs are huge, then chickens is tiny. Correct. April, I get the walk, LOL. I love when they run. Yes. April says, I know, right? So, yeah, we could get into that another night. That will take me another 2 hours to unfold. But just know there's a problem with that thought. We'll get into it next time, I promise. And maybe next time we'll do evolution. I'm getting ready to have to go to bed. This is 10 o'clock. Walter, you busy tonight? Are you still working, my man? Bell, welcome. Maybe it's like a bacteria cell and it evolved. It's not. Bacteria is a very specific thing that is not anything that has to do with the egg, which has very specific chemicals in it and very specific structure to it. And a bacteria is a single-celled organism, and a chicken is a multi-celled organism. But you know what you don't have any examples of, period? A 2-celled organism, or a 4-celled organism, or a 5-celled organism. They don't exist. It's a 1-cell organism or a multi-celled organism. That's it. There are no in-betweens. Hi, Bell. Welcome, says Amanda. Yep, at 10:30, you'll turn into a pumpkin. I know, right? April says, that's a great conversation. Thanks, Walter Love. It is great. It's a great idea. Softball says, so, do you have anything that you really talk about or just read comments? I just spent an hour and a half talking about light and sound and vibrations, so yeah. Yeah, I do. Walter says a Darwin thinking kind would say that the egg evolved in a pool of calcium with nucleotides and proteins and floating around in this prebiotic soup until one day a single-celled egg rolled up onto the ground and grew legs and then turned into a chicken over thousands and thousands of years. I love where you go, Walter. That's fantastic. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Chicken. Rawr. Dana says the doctrine of Darwin is so foolish. It is the result of a God-hating man. Yes, it is. Walter says, no, not busy. Going to move some hay to the horses. My mom just went to bed. Okay. You mind if I call a little bit later tonight? About 30 minutes? I gotta check up with you. Bell says, from meteorites? I suppose that's as good as Darwinism. The problem is Darwinism sounds fantastic until you ask it a question. You don't even have to ask it a question. You could really just be sarcastic and go, really? Really? And it'll fall to pieces. It can't take scrutiny. Well, I gotta go. Loved watching you. See you later. Softball, thank you. Come back and see us again. April says, we have Bible study on Sunday at 8 and Monday at 8:30. Come on back, Softball. It's very inspiring. Thank you, April. I appreciate that. And it is. Not preachy at all, but very literal. All right. I have to go to bed now because I'm getting tired. I've had a hard day. I got blisters on my fingers and everything. So I'm going to bed. I'm going to crash and totally veg out until morning. Can you say hi to me, please? Cheryl Malfoy. Hi. How are you? You doing okay? Good to see you. How you been? Did you have a good day? It's nice to meet you. All right. Dana says, heart. Heart back at you, Dana. Softball says, okay, wait. April, what about it? April, would you like to tell her about what we do on Sunday and Monday? April says, hi, Cheryl. Good to see you. Welcome. Amanda says, hi, Cheryl. Welcome. Canix fan says, hi. Hi, Canix fan. Amanda says, night, y'all. See you Sunday night. Walter says, chickens will eat anything, including each other. They would eat us, too, if they could. If you sit still long enough, they would. Yes, they would. I've had chickens, too. They'll eat anything. April says, come back on Sunday, okay? See you then. Much love, everyone. April, I love you with all my heart. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all you moderators for doing such a great job. And thank you, Dana, for keeping me inspired. Okay, I might. We'll see. Thank you, Softball. It'll be good to have you. Have a good night, everyone. Bell, good night. Give me a call, Jake. Will do. Let me get through with this and get everything shut down, and I'll holler at you. I subscribed. Excellent. Thank you for the subscription. OMG, so do pigs. Pigs also eat anything. You're right. Yes, pigs are very prolific in what they will eat. Anything. Literally anything. I love you all. God bless, says April. God bless you too. And thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the topic. I hope it caused you to do some thinking, and I hope it inspires you to come up with your own answers and your own ideas. And maybe you too can have a podcast and talk to the air one day. Until then, I'll see you Sunday night at 8 p.m. right here on Untethered Live Eastern Standard Time. Have a great night. God bless you. May his blessings abound in your life, and may his grace light your footsteps everywhere they go. Until next time, thanks for watching.